All right, Rob, welcome to the garage, man.
Good to see you guys.
Look at that. Yeah. Look at that behind you.
I like the background.
Yeah.
Well, I had to either blur something else out or put that in there. So I figured I'd go with that.
I thought about blurring out mine, but then my face just looks even more distorted than normal. So it's like, okay, just forget about it. We'll go with this. But so, Rob, the name of the new album is Now with More Rockets.
Correct.
Am I saying that correctly? How you would Now with More Rockets?
You got it.
Where'd the title come from? Yeah. Thanks for radio. Where'd the title come from, Rob?
The title came from because I have 2 songs on the album that have to do with rockets.
Yep.
The first song and the last song. And then when it was time to come up with a title for the album, I didn't want to use a song title necessarily. And I saw these rockets there, and it was just Now with More Rockets. It just hit me.
I like that.
Yeah, very cool. Now, Rob, you're a veteran of the music scene. Was your first band Government Issue? Was that your first band?
No. That was maybe the last band I was in officially. I was in the band that most people know me from being in was Artificial Peace.
Yes.
Okay.
But there were bands that I was in before that kind of evolved into Artificial Peace. But that's really the one. And then later I was in Government Issue in 1983.
Okay.
Now, Rob, where are you based out of? Are you a Boston guy? Are you New York, or where are you from?
I am new to Boston, actually, or actually not really new. I was actually born here, but back. This is my second time back, so this is my third time living in this city. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area in Maryland, which is, of course, why I was in those different bands in the DC scene,
Right.
on Discord Records and so forth. And then I ended up finishing my undergrad at BU, and then lived in different places. I was in New York City for quite a while, Los Angeles for a long time, Portland, Oregon, which is where I was when I was recording this. And we just recently moved to Boston, and we're in a temporary place. So that's kind of why I blurred out or threw this up in the background. Otherwise, it's
All those great music cities.
they are. And Boston is a fantastic one. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah, we love Boston.
Home of Red Rum Bar Records.
Rum Bar Records,
yeah.
yes.
And Red on Red Records.
Red on Red.
Red on Red, correct. Yeah, there's some great bands. Sal Baglio, Amplifier Heads.
Love
Watts.
Sal.
Yeah, so great stuff.
Rob, I have to butt in real fast and ask you, do you remember WHFS when you lived in DC?
Of course.
That was a great radio station.
Sure, absolutely.
Craig, WHFS, that was like freeform. You might hear
Yep.
Johnny Cash, then a deep blues cut, then the Sex Pistol. I mean, just all kinds of
Right.
discotheques and the sexolettes, just all over the place,
Very cool.
That it was.
Yeah, so it was a great radio. Now, Rob, did you ever do any radio work, or you guys ever do any of that?
Actually, I was at University of Maryland for a couple of years, and while I wasn't I did some sort of fill-in DJ on WMUC a couple of times, and that was fun. But that was it as far as that goes. That's what you're talking about?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Now, Rob, take us through the recording process for you. Usually, is it the lyrics come first, like a hook, or how do you usually record?
Okay, well, the way in terms of songwriting, I'll play with a guitar. I'll just play around with it till I get something that interests me and think it works into something. And usually I write lyrics afterwards. Generally, I will start with the music. Actually, I've been writing some lyrics now because we're in the process of moving. So all my gear has been in storage. I haven't touched a guitar since August. So I had some thoughts, so I started writing them down. So I started doing some lyric writing, but normally it's music. I mean, one of the songs like Red Beans and Gasoline, for instance.
Love that song.
Yes, that's added. We added that.
Oh, cool. One of that I was just playing around and sort of realized I kind of stumbled on the sort of progression of House of the Rising Sun in terms of like the lyric line.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But what can I do with that? And from there, it was just play around with it. And I didn't want it to really be that song.
Right.
And since it's actually a traditional, and even the way I'm using it, there's no real copyright issues whatsoever. But I took some phrases from that and a couple, like a word or a line or two from Johnny Be Good, and kind of
Oh yeah.
It's sort of like a mashup song, but instead of taking two finished songs, it's taking sort of ideas, themes from two, and a
Yeah.
little bit of tone from two existing songs,
Mhm.
and turning it into an entirely new song.
New song.
Yeah, which is very cool. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
neat how you did all that.
Synthesized.
Yeah.
Synthesized.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys seen, I have a video for that song that I put out.
Oh, I've not seen the video.
I haven't seen the video yet. Yeah.
It's on YouTube. If you type in red beans and gasoline in your search bar on YouTube, it'll bring you to it. If you type in red beans and gas, it will take you to some very different videos, which hopefully you don't need. So go for that one, red beans and gas.
Right.
Well, I mean, I do know that like Sal Baglio plays on this. It's kind of a who's who. You got a lot of people contributing.
Yeah.
I mean, is that right, Rob? Kind of?
Yeah, I mean, that's also kind of part of my process is I'll write songs, I'll record rhythm guitar parts, and even though you might not hear it, I'm always double tracking my rhythm guitar parts, if not also playing. For instance, I might just do another track that's just I'll just do the chords and just hold it and just let it sustain, but that will be mixed below it. So all that does is just make the guitar sound heavier and fatter and
Very
richer.
cool.
But I'm not a lead guitar player, so I call old friends and friends of friends and say, hey, would you like to play on one song? It's not a huge commitment, one song.
Right.
And more often than not, people say yes. And recording lead guitar has become relatively easy in terms of people with home studios.
Yeah.
Drums is much more difficult to record, live drums. But so, a guy like Sal, who has a great studio in his basement, or other guys, they can, I'll send them a sort of a mixed, basic track version, and give them some very loose ideas and direction. Some guys will send back and, here it is, and it's great. Others will send me like 3 or 4 different options. Sometimes say, is this what you're looking for? These aren't final, but sort of tell me what you're looking, and then I'll re-record it. And then other guys, like on the previous album, like Nels Klein sent me, I think 3 or 4 different takes, and he said, edit them together if you wish, which is what we did. So that's how I kind of go about it is, talk to different guys. There's always a different lead guitar player on every song. Some songs will have another guest musician, whether it's piano or saxophone. And, it just sort of adds to it. And I get to work with great musicians. Which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Now, what's the recording process, Rob? I mean, were you guys able, or was this recorded over the pandemic, kind of individually, or were you able to get in the studio?
Well, this album I recorded over the pandemic. My previous album actually was before the pandemic, and actually just as I'm going to release it is when things started happening.
Wow.
And my original thought was to just completely shelve it for a while.
Mhm.
And, I contacted everyone who was involved, and Bob Durwood Andrews from Generation X plays on my first album.
Oh wow.
And he said, no, to put it out now. People need music.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So I did. And the first album, that was the first time I sang lead vocals. And frankly, I'm not happy with how I did it. It was rushed in a sense. I had maybe time for 1 or 2 takes. And also I never sang lead before. And
Right. Yeah.
I after it was out, I was like, oh God, I should have done that differently. So when
No,
I
you couldn't tell it.
album,
You sound very confident. Seriously, you sound confident like you've been doing it all your life. No kidding.
well, I think the new album sounds better. The first album, not so happy with. The new one, now with more rockets, I feel like I've kind of now gotten into a style that works for my ability, for my voice. The first one, I was trying a lot of different things and really not quite there. So back to your process. So with this album, I recorded all my guitar parts at my house, or my house I used to live in Portland. Put in originally like a sort of a temp beat, drum beat, and then sent it to Danny Frankel, who plays drums on it. He's a old DC guy as well. He was in
Amazing
the Urban
drummer.
Verbs.
Amazing drummer.
A lot of other bands. He's drummed with Lou Reed for quite a while.
Yeah.
So he recorded at his place. A friend of his, Charlie. Oh, what is Charlie's last name? Well, it's Charlie. Charlie came over with all his gear, and the two of them over the
Kinda
course of several
engineered it.
days. Yeah, they recorded all the drum tracks. Dwight Reed, who played bass on the previous album, also played it on this. I went over to his place, and we recorded his bass parts over there. And then Bart Thurber in Oakland did the mixing. So that's the process.
Okay.
And it is available on CD and download, I'm sure. Are you in
Yes.
line to get any vinyl pressed, or I know there's a big wait?
There is a big wait, but there's a bigger upfront cost
Yeah.
to it, and I don't think I'm in the position to do that right now. So, if people want to get digital download, or if they want to get the CD, well, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
They can go to Bandcamp. Just type in, Rob Moss. I'll be there. Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin. They'll find me. So the new album is there. It's just $10 and shipping, and then the digital version is just $9. So it'd be great if people got it, because that helps me pay for the mixing costs.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
deserving.
Things, it's a labor of love, without a doubt. Certainly not going to be able to quit the day job to
That's like us.
record, of
This
course,
is-
yeah, but we still do it, and
We do it because we love the music.
Well, I would say
know?
you keep putting out quality product like this, you'll be able to quit your day job sooner or later.
Yes. Take the compliment, Rob. We're hanging the garage. Take a compliment.
I'll take it.
Any touring, Rob? Any plans for touring?
That's another hard thing. The way I kind of operate with these songs, and different guest musician on every song.
Right.
Like, okay, there's no way I can bring them all along. That's
Right.
just not conceivable. And then to sort of come up with a new band to sort of recreate the songs, it would sound different. It might sound better. It might not.
Right.
I don't know. But part of me, I really like songwriting and recording and collaborating with these guys, and turning these things into songs. I've played live a lot when I was younger. I toured, did all over the United States, CBGBs and all places like that all over the country. And I guess it's different now to some extent. Now, I mean, we have cell phones, back when we were doing it, it was, you had basically a handful of change, and you'd go find a payphone.
Oh yeah.
Call the guy in the next town and say, okay, where's the directions to the club? And we'd be writing them down like on your hand or whatever you had in handy.
So when you're 19 and 20 and living on a van and ramen with hot dogs boiled, on it, you can get by, but when you get a little older, it makes it harder.
Correct.
But Rob, I do think there's an audience out there who'd love to see you live. Seriously. I mean, you could just get out with your, Marshall Crenshaw.
Maybe even a limited, 1 or 2 shows here or there somewhere.
We'll see. I will see.
Boston's got a great scene for playing live.
That's true. That's true. I mean, maybe the way to is if I can sit in with some guys in some
There you
There you go.
Yeah.
that might be a way to gently break into it. That would be.
Rob, tell us real fast about the song Richard Jewell. What inspired? Well, I know what inspired it, but where did that come from?
From the man himself.
Yeah.
From that, what a story. I mean, here's this guy who was, just really wanted to do good. He's overweight. People make fun of him. No one takes him seriously. And, he saved, so like the song goes, he saved so many people.
Yeah.
But he went from being first, celebrated as a hero, and then he got scapegoated.
Yeah.
And then the press jumped on him because they only want to report the bad news. If there's good news, it's not news to them. So they made this guy's life hell, and his mom's, and it's pretty sad. Just thinking of that was just, I don't remember exactly what said, okay, I got to write a song about that. But, at some point there along the lines, I'll just sort of write down ideas, and that was one of them. And again, I had the music first, and, but I think I had written, Richard Jewell, okay, we'll find a place for it, find a home for him. And somehow when I had that song, it just sort of came together with that one.
I would say that's probably the only Richard Jewell song ever.
I want that. You're probably so.
And what about ink blue smoke? I think that's right. Or blue ink
Yeah.
smoke.
Ink Blue Smoke. That
Yeah.
was another one where I was just playing around. Here I am playing this in my room with my guitar, and kind of came. I said, "Oh, this is sort of like a swamp rock song." It's not really one of mine, but it's. But then I realized, well, maybe it could be, and
Right.
from that, I was thinking, okay, well, if I can get Greg Strzemka, from Raging Slab, who was a DC guy as well, but I hadn't seen him for I don't know how many years. And I thought he was living in Pennsylvania. That was the last I had heard, but it turns out he was in Washington State.
Oh,
I had
wow.
no idea. In a town called Indianola. So I got a hold of him, sent him the tracks, and he was like, yeah. And he said, what about, want some organ too? And I'm like, yes, let's do some organ.
Yeah, the organ
And-
stands out. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that swirl. And when we were still living in Oregon back, what was it? I guess it was around last winter. And it was before he recorded it or when we were talking about it. We had a break for some days. So my wife and son, we did a date, we spent a couple nights out in Indianola. So we went and visited him at his place.
cool.
He's got a very interesting house out in the woods that you would never know it's there. And it's got a turret. It's a
Oh, wow.
very
wow.
unusual house with skylight windows in his recording studio area. And he's just got tons of gear, tons of analog gear.
Oh, wow.
He's got all sorts of things. So
Back in the day, Rob, did you do a lot of recording on analog gear on tape?
well, that's how it was started. It was I think the first time I was in a studio was probably maybe a 4-track. I think it was at maybe Steve Carr's place. It may have been a 4-track or it may have been 8. I'm sure he went to 8 at one point and probably went beyond that. And of course, Don Zentera's studio, I think, was he 4 or 8 at that point? He may have already been at 8-track. And I'm not sure what he's doing now. I mean, he's back in his basement, which is, where I was Artificial Peace recorded there. It was before he had the studio, which got closed more recently, but down in his basement. So yeah, that was all analog, no digital, that's for sure.
Oh, see, I'm old enough. We used to do all our editing on tape too. I mean, all our production.
Sure.
Oh man. Yeah, you got good with the razor blade.
Yeah, you can do those angle cut edits.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So really, I mean, the Artificial Peace, we're talking probably, I think that was, what was the name of the label you were on, Rob, with Artificial Peace? Oh,
Discord.
shoot. Discord. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And where am I getting Fountain of Youth? Weren't you in?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was one EP, like a split EP that was another recording at CAB Studios, and that was definitely 8-track. I'm pretty sure. And Derek Chu at that point, he had been wanting to start a label, and actually he had talked to Ian, and Ian really Ian McKay, as I'm talking about, encouraged him. He said the more basically it's not healthy just to have one label in one town. You need lots of things going on, like Boston. There's Red on Red, and there's Rumbar Records, and there's others as well.
Yeah.
So I know Ian actually wanted more labels in the DC area, so he really encouraged Derek to do that. And Derek came to us and said, "Look, I'm going to start a label, but he had a band called The Exiled, but he said, would you do a split EP with me? You on one side, my band's on the other, just to help get it off the ground." And we were sure at that point. And I know because Discord had a lot of other stuff going on, so I know we weren't going to get another record with them in that time period. So it was like, okay, well, maybe we'll do one with Discord later. So let's do this with Derek now. But the session was not a great one. I know Pete was not really happy with his guitar sound.
Yeah.
And in the mix, he just kept wanting to turn it lower and lower. It was kind of frustrating. So
Turn it down.
Not those were great songs, but unfortunately they didn't come across on the session that they should have. But there's a video. We played a number of those songs at a show at the Wilson Center. I guess it was June 25th, 1982, which Malcolm Riviera, who organized the show, also shot a lot of videotape. And it was like 3/4-inch video, and he only had a couple, I don't know how many cassettes, and I didn't even know he was doing it. I'm on stage, I don't realize he has a video camera out there. And he would turn the camera on, then turn the camera off, because he wanted to have enough to shoot pretty much every band that night. And then, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, he contacts me and says, I have this video and I've tried to sync it up with, Tom Loyal from Government Issue, had recorded through the mixing board that night. He also hung a microphone over the stage. So between the mixing board audio and that other mic, he really captured a great sound. So I had Malcolm sent me the video that he had, but it wasn't for every song. We had the entire set on audio. So what I said, well, why don't I try doing something with editing it? So I would take still photography, stills, a lot of them that he had taken of us playing that same venue a different night, stills of us from other venues, and would do sort of animation type moves on it. So, I'm doing it all through, video editing at this point. So I took that, and then we took some of the live video, and I would sort of find areas where, okay, it looks like I could move that there, and it looks like he's in sync with the lyrics, even though it's from an entirely different song. But I would kind of push in on the video so it would feel a bit like a different shot, and then used images of flyers and other things.
That's a very creative way to get it out there. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, it's on YouTube as well. In fact, if you go to YouTube and type "red beans and gasoline," that's an easy way to get to my YouTube channel, and you'll find the video for that song, for another song off the new album, as well as that Artificial Peace live video, so people can see that. And it's an amazing set. The amount of stage dives going on and slam dancing and all that stuff. There's stuff going on there that we look at this now, we have no recollection. I mean, crazy conga line going on, and I don't want to spoil it. What all these guys are doing to poor Peter on guitar. He has no recollection of it happening, but it's there. It's on video, so people can go see that.
That's awesome that there's video out there for you to remember it. Then
yeah, I'm glad there is, because it's 40 plus years ago, and even during that show, during that night, so many things happen. It happens so fast, and shows like that are so chaotic. I'm more concentrated. Okay, can I get through the song, and can I get through the song with my bass and my amp intact and not get knocked over? I'm more concerned with that than anything else going on in the show.
Forget about remembering it.
It's a blur. So
now, Rob, are we talking, is that maybe 82? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the DC scene there was still happening, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was big.
Most definitely. That was really kind of like, maybe I left the DC area in 1983, so I really can't comment on anything so much after that, because I'd be in touch with people, but I wasn't living there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to shows there. I wasn't really seeing it, and I wasn't really keeping up with it as much.
But to me, a lot of that was authentic, and that's what we stress for. By the way, that's why we love your album. It's authentic. It comes from the heart. But that was hardcore, if I remember, pretty hardcore punk, the majority you'd say. I mean, you seemed like you guys started to get a little more alternative as the years went on, or the band did.
Or maybe not Artificial Peace so much. Although, I mean, we kind of
Government Issue more. Sorry,
Government Issue definitely evolved. I mean, I was there doing a lot of the songs I was playing ended up on the Joyride album. If I had probably stayed in the DC area, and if I had played on that album, I would have been on that album. But that was really, we were really listening to like the first Motley Crue album and things like that. We were really sort of taking ideas from that sound, as well as hardcore and other things. And I mean, even things like Robin Trower and other bands like that. Because I mean,
Rory Gallagher. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
all of, whether, Tom Lyle, myself, Mark Alberstadt, we were all raised on, Deep Purple and, bands like that. So yeah, we might be playing hardcore, but we're totally influenced by all these sounds that came before us.
Well, there was a melodic sense to it. There was a melodic sense and structure to it. It just wasn't, I mean, there was a, you know what I mean? I'm not talking very.
How did you end up into that hardcore scene?
It just happened. I started playing bass and started writing songs probably 1979, and this was, it wasn't hardcore at that point. The first guy I was writing songs with was Brian Gay. We were both in high school together, and he was the first bass player in Government Issue, but at the same time, he and I had a band where I was playing bass, he was playing guitar. The first name, we were called the Indians. We had a female singer who also went to our high school. Maybe did a couple shows with her. Mike Manos was our drummer. And after we got Steve Polcari later, and then we became Artificial Peace. But to your question was, okay. So when Brian and I first started getting together, we were listening to, WHFS. There was an album called 30 Seconds Over DC on Skip Groff's label, who's no longer with us, Limp Records. And it was all these, mostly DC area bands, although there was a few New York bands, like I think Tina Peel. They're actually, I think, were from New York, but they would play down in the DC area frequently enough. So they were on that album. And that was it was sort of alternative rock, punk rock, sort of new wave-ish stuff. Some of it was a real mix. You listen to that record and it's like every band sounds totally different. You go, say, to the first Discord compilation album, Flex Your Head, every band is different, but they're all hardcore bands, more or less.
Right.
30 Seconds Over DC, it's such a variety of sounds. So when Brian and I started writing songs together, we were doing stuff that we were doing ska songs. We were doing stuff that sounds kind of like influenced by sort of that kind of spy instrumental rock kind of 60s stuff. We were taking cues from everything because it was all, we're writing songs. It didn't really matter what. And we were playing covers, that was the thing. It was like, what can we do that's our own? And then kind of hardcore kind of happened, and everybody's like, oh, well, let's just speed up our songs.
Yeah.
Let's play faster. Let's play shorter songs.
The Minutemen. Yeah, the Minutemen effect.
Yeah. So
well, Rob, I don't know if you've checked or not, but like some of those 45s from I don't know, like they sell for, I'm into records, and they sell for decent money. I mean, I don't know if you have any laying around there anywhere or survived the moves.
Well, yeah, I've been selling pieces of my collection off over the years.
Yeah.
Which is, helped me actually, whether
that helped get you to where so we have now with more rockets.
Yeah, actually it did. I mean, I used some of that money for recording. I've also used some of that money just to pay the bills at times in the past. Because, I have a kid. He's not interested in any of that. He's not going to want it when I'm gone. So I would sell it on Discogs and things like that. In fact, there's a guy who had bought quite a few of my records when I first started selling stuff in Los Angeles, and I ended up getting in touch with him recently, and he had bought Now My Rockets, and somehow we started talking, and he didn't know I was here in Boston, and we're texting each other, and he's like, I'm in Boston right now for business. You're kidding me. So we got together that night.
Oh, that's cool.
And went out. I've never met him before. We just emailed each other and things like that. But I had, sold them a bunch of records and, tons of, I would just take flyers that I had so many flyers as well. And I would just stick them in with the records just as bonuses, not knowing that flyers were going for huge money. So we got
If we'd
together
known.
and instead of me having to have a CD shipped to him, I was able to hand deliver a CD
Nice.
to him.
Right.
So that was cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, Rob, now, first of all, I need to ask I wrote it down, Trevor and Ken Moss. Is that is that nepotism in the band anywhere? Or?
Well, we'll start with Trevor. He's my son.
Okay.
So he took that photo on the front cover. That's his
awesome
work.
photo. Yeah.
It is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So and Ken Moss, we might be distantly related.
Oh, okay.
We don't, I mean, I don't know him, from, through family. I know him through music, and knew of him. He was in a band called the Acrylics in DC, which was kind of like a new wavy band early
don't
on.
remember him,
But more recently, he was in a 7-door sedan. But he's now he's living back in Los Angeles. So 7-door sedan is playing as a 3-piece. But Ken Moss is a great lead guitar player, great guy, great songwriter too. I've heard, I think, a couple of his he sent me in one point. But yeah, he's the guitar player on Red Beans and Gasoline. And Glenn Kowalski plays lead guitar on another one of my songs, who is he's the guy from that his band is 7-door sedan. So that's him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Rob, I know we've kept you for half an hour. Thank you so much. But
sure.
what are some of your influences? Like who's shaped your bass playing, your songwriting?
Oh, bass playing, I don't know, honestly, to be honest. And I haven't played a bass I haven't played bass in a band since 1983. I haven't touched a bass since 1985.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And to be honest, I just started playing guitar in 2016.
Oh, wow.
I spent, literally decades thinking I'm never going to be playing music again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have the time or the ability or so for it. And it just sort of happened. I ended up, picked up a guitar and started playing. I first taught myself a few covers just to kind of warm up to it, and kind of got right back into songwriting, which is what I did a lot, early on. And that's the part I like the most. But your question though, what was your question?
Just like, who are some of your, who did you really dig as a
influences.
kid? Who'd you listen to a lot?
Bands like Deep Purple, Mott the Hoople, things like that. And that's the stuff that I listen to the most in terms of types of music. So
You're going to laugh, but I was waiting for it. I hear a little bit of Mark Bolan, some T-Rex and some of your stuff.
Oh, sure. Oh, most definitely. Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely that era of music without a doubt. Like the first stuff though, I kind of keep going back to, you always have this thing where, it's the music you first kind of discovered is the kind of thing it sort of, it just keeps bringing you back. But yeah, I mean, T-Rex, absolutely. The whole, Slade is huge. I mean, I never get bored of that music. I can always go listen to it.
Now, you guys may laugh too, though, but Craig, I haven't mentioned this to you, but I hear, I know I may be totally off base, but I hear some country, like real country influence in some of your lyrics as well. Some Hank Snow, Don Gibson. I'm not kidding.
Okay. No, I actually, I have some Hank Snow albums. They're in storage at the moment, and I haven't sold those because I don't think anybody wants them. But tell me, where do you hear the Hank Snow?
Well, not so much Hank Snow, just kind of the country approach. I mean, and some of the lyrics, some of the patterns that you put together, especially like in, I always want to say this wrong, Blue Ink Smoke. I hear a little bit of that phrasing, that country phrasing in some of the lyrics. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that was a great night of bourbon when I made these notes. But
well, that song definitely, it just, when I came up with that riff, it just felt like, okay, this has Southern rock Leonard Skinner,
Right.
swamp rock, CCR, kind of written all over it. And I kind of get it. I mean, that's part of also like the way when I think of someone to play on a song as a lead guitar player, as a guest musician, I often try to kind of do it as if I'm a casting director.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going that route. I mean, on one of the songs, let's see, on not Bloody Shoes, on what is it? What's the song I'm thinking of? Two Slices of Bread.
Oh yeah.
When I was that one, it really reminded me of something that like a Willie Alexander and the Boom Boom Band type song, and which is a great Boston band, from the late '70s into the early '80s, I suppose. But when I contacted Sal Baglio to play on it, who's a Boston guy, I said, "Here's what I'm thinking. I want this song to have that sound." And Boston guy, he knew exactly what the right approach was. Both guitar, and I said, I also want piano because I know he could do some piano as well. Play that Willie Alexander kind of ding ding, ding, ding kind of thing on it. And there it came. And I knew if by getting Sal, who understood the sound I'm after, it just totally makes it. And it's the
Sal's
same.
just a magician. Sal, I mean, he really is. Any band that we always add Sal stuff because he's just so great. So I mean, just so talented.
Yep. Have you had him on your show?
We have, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Sal's a great guy. But now I wanted to ask a little bit about All Over Town. To me, off the new album, that's kind of, now again, this is my interpretation, but that's kind of a to me like a party song. I mean, hey, to me, I don't know.
Okay, that's another one that's kind of an outlier in a sense. The first version of it, or not for version, but the earlier sort of demo version, I guess first versions, I had this sort of muted chord thing going on, and it reminded me of something off the first Motley Crue album, like something Mick Mars would do. And I sent it to Gil Lee, who plays lead guitar on one of my songs on a Rocket Ship to You. And I said, is this right? Does this feel like it should be on the album, or is this just something just to put on the shelf? Or do I redo the song and take that element out? And he said, no, it really makes the song. So when I got Razzle to play lead guitar, and he's a guy he's like a classic rock guy. I mean, he plays, he can get that sound for Scorpions, Motley Crue. That's where he is at. So again, it's like okay, for that song, he's the right person.
Yeah.
So he really brought that in. Yep.
Well, the album is now with more rockets. I want to be your official announcer for the album.
You're welcome to it.
But thanks, Rob. Thanks for hanging out with us in the garage. Please come back. Any new project? Yeah. We've added the Red Beans and Gasoline. I think we're going to be adding a couple more.
Yeah.
So, Rob, but once more, where can people find Bandcamp for sure? But any other places? Is there like Rob Moss and the Skin Tight Skin website?
No separate website. I just figured keep it simple. Just have a Bandcamp page. Why have something get in the way? I mean, the only other thing I have, is like a couple of videos on YouTube, and even that I'm not really putting a whole lot of.
Right.
I'd rather people focus on, I've had this conversation with Sal. We kind of have this sort of, I guess maybe, I'll speak for myself. Like a love-hate relationship with music videos.
Right.
On one hand, it helps get the word out there, but I come from Sal as well. Sal's older than I am, but still, we both have this thing where we would go down to the basement and we put on the album, start with the song 1, side A,
and
you sit down, you read the line, you read the notes, the liner notes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You look at the photos. You've read this a million times before. You've looked at the photos before, but that's all you have, and your imagination.
Yes.
As you listen to these songs. And to us, that's the way it should be, but people still kind of want videos. So.
Right.
See, I feel the same way. I was never a fan of MTV. I know I'm dating myself. When I remember when it debuted, was not a fan. Because it was always about let me picture create it in my head, what the meaning, and it was mine. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. The album again is Now with More Rockets. We've been talking to Rob Moss. Rob, thanks for hanging out with us in the garage. Please come back in a couple months and let's check in again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Have
Thanks.
a good night. Bye-bye.